Everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and today I want to look at the chart of someone who is a little bit different. Um, this came out of, just gotta say a few things before, because it's like an intense one. This came out of my, I guess because I'm interested in psychology as well, so I wanted to know what the chart of a psychopath look like. So it's a pretty intense subject. Sometimes they're called sociopath, but technically, if somebody's born this way, it's a psychopath. Sociopath is made according to the definitions that I read. So this is the chart of a psychopath and what a psychopath looks like astrologically. Um, and it's not an easy subject because what a psychopath can do to people. So this is the chart of Ted Bundy, notorious serial killer and rapist. So yeah, not a light, easy person to do a reading for, but this is the study of astrology. So I need to look at all the charts and see what makes people tick. Not just people I like. Anyway, let me share the screen. All right, Ted Bundy, November 24th, 1946, 10:35 p.m., Burlington, Vermont. All right, Sagittarius and Scorpio stellium in the 4th and 5th house. Okay. So Sag Sun, and there's a 9-degree conjunction to South Node, then Mars, Moon, and Lilith. And this is in the 4th house, moving to the 5th house. South Node Sun. Oftentimes you'll see this with celebrities. This can be somebody who is very confident in their ego, their personality, because the South Node creates that familiarity. Sometimes they're, like I said, they can be famous because of this confidence. Sometimes it can create confidence issues as they get older because South Node can do that. But they can typically be leadership types or just very, very sun-oriented, egotistical, just very having very strong or innate inherent sun qualities, just that confidence, that charm, the exuberance, the ability to shine because of the South Node. Now, the South Node is much closer to Mars, and then Mars is very close to the Moon. And Mars and Moon is not really a good combination, especially for a man. Well, either for man or woman. For a woman, it can indicate abuse. For a man, it can indicate abuser, because Moon is feminine and Mars is masculine. Mars is aggression. Mars is male aggression. And, Mars to Moon can mean somebody who's abusive towards women. I mean, that's not uncommon to see in any male's chart, let alone, I mean, even if we didn't know that he was a psychopath, you could get, sort of a feeling that maybe he was a little bit abusive towards women. And that's not saying that everyone who has Mars Moon combinations are going to be abusive towards women. Maybe they just have a kind of male chauvinist attitude or just not relate well with women. There could be other factors that inhibit that quality, but we'll look at the other things that did not inhibit that quality. And then Lilith is also here in Sagittarius, and I left Lilith in because usually it's an indicator of female sexuality. But for a man, especially that is close to the Moon, now it's not only females but sexual females. There's some sexuality going on with the females and the Mars here, and South Node. So South Node Mars also is somebody who can, especially when young, has this very aggressive quality, this Martian quality. Again, not necessarily an abuser or a violent person, but somebody who knows how to fight, is willing to fight, is willing to be aggressive, is willing to be Martian, you know, physically active. You know, Mars can represent many different things. It can represent, you know, muscles and sports and, you know, or like war and violence, or just, you know, beating people up, or just, you know, going to work, working hard physically, so a lot of different things. So we're not going to just lump it all and just say it's violence, you know. It could be many different things. But right here we're getting also Sagittarius is fire, mutable fire. So we're getting like there's a lot of like passion, fire, confidence, aggression, and then potential abuse for women in the 5th house. So romance, right? Romance immediately comes to mind when we're talking about the 5th house, and especially with a man relating to women. So already this is not a great combination here. You know, he might be, if other factors were, you know, good, maybe he could just be very sexually active and seductive towards women. Mars to Moon could mean just really likes to have sex with women, you know, especially in the 5th house. But there's more to it than that. Uranus also is opposite the moon by 3 degrees, and Uranus can be shocking events. Potentially with Mars, it is violent when there's a combination with Mars, and it's a little wide opposition to Mars, but still in opposite signs. It's more that the moon has an opposition to Mars and an opposition to Uranus and a conjunction to Mars and conjunction to Lilith. That puts this moon in a very precarious situation. Moon also represents early childhood development. So, and it's also ruling the 12th house. So it's the house of his subconscious mind. So already we're getting this feeling like there's some real issues around women. The Mars and the Uranus is kind of like, I don't know, like it's a lot of energy towards a very sensitive point in the chart, which is the moon. The moon is very sensitive. So already I would say not such great relations with women, too much energy towards women. The very shocking and sudden event, Uranus, and the aggressive Mars, and then the over sexualization of women with the Lilith there, and then the charm, the confidence that comes with South Node and Sun and Sagittarius. And these are all disposited by a Jupiter that's in Scorpio conjunct the MC and Venus. So Venus is it's in detriment. And then we got also the Mercury in Scorpio. So already we're seeing dark thoughts, dark, heavy childhood. His relations with women are negative because Venus and Scorpio, over sexualization of women, bringing women into the realm of obsession, sexualization, crisis, death, rebirth, all the scorpionic themes, dark, heavy. And then Jupiter is his belief system, his faith, his wisdom. Also note that when we're talking about planetary phases, to see how young a planet behaves and how old a planet behaves. So Jupiter is very young because the sun had just passed Jupiter. So his wisdom, his ability to think in terms of, you know, just, yeah, wisdom and intelligence, like higher mindedness, is very immature. You can say immature and heavy, scorpionic. So young and overly sexualized and dark, delving into philosophy of dark things. Jupiter is ruling the 8th house as well, and the 5th house. So 5th lord in the 4th house. So romance is going into secret, dark secret, because the 4th house is home and childhood, but also hidden things, right? You know, the term skeletons in the closet. Well, a closet has 4 walls, and a closet is usually at home. But even if it's not home, it's in a building, and all buildings are represented by fourth house. So skeletons in the closet are definitely fourth house theme. Things can be hidden in the fourth house. So romance, going to home, dark things, sexuality, hidden, heaviness, a very immature sense of wisdom, belief system, no real strong development of like, good and bad, ethics, morals, things like that, because that belongs to Jupiter. Relationship with women, not very good. And then also, if the planetary phases of Moon and Mercury are also young. Sorry, Venus and Mercury are also young. But Mars actually, and then Moon, because it's a fast planet, that's also young because Moon goes this way. So you have to look at the speed. Moon's separate. Moon's different. Moon is young on this side. All the other planets are young on this side of the sun. And then Mars is actually old. It's a very old Mars. And what does that mean? Well, Mars is a very youthful planet. So an old Mars is somebody who's been around the block. He's not his Mars, his ability to be Martian and aggressive, that's not new. He's not naive on that front. He's a little bit, his Mars is like he's a soldier who's like, been to war and back. Like he's not timid. He's not shy of his Mars. His Mars is pretty old. You can think of an old Mars like smoking a cigarette, drinking out a bottle of whiskey, and it's like, I've seen a thing or two, man. I've seen some war, seen some carnage. It's like, it's an experienced Mars. It's not his first Mars rodeo. And Mars is the fighter and the, excuse my French, but the fucker as well. So yeah, that's not so great. Chiron also is in Scorpio, and it's technically in the third quadrant, but fourth cusp is here, so it's moving in. And anyway, third quadrant can be like the neighborhood. Chiron represents wounds, rejection, just feelings of being an outsider, an outcast. Generally speaking, an immature Chiron, which this is, if we're talking about phases of the related to the sun, would be more of a wounded reject. And in Scorpio, a very pained, deeply hurt one at that. And this could indicate some issues around like when he was growing up. I didn't read that he had, but he said he didn't understand how to have friends. So there's probably issues based on his own undeveloped personality. I mean, to me, he sounds like a very young soul. Like if you were to imagine somebody who was like, maybe, I don't know, like a wolf or a wolverine or some aggressive animal, and then they became human. If you believe that, I do. I think that's how it works. Then this is somebody who's like first time human, and he's just used to being an animal. He's just used to like killing and attacking and fighting and fucking and just being an animal. Anyway, he doesn't know how to be a human yet, really, is what it feels like. And his Chiron is very, very vain. Like his Scorpio, everything in Scorpio hurts, at some point. The whole purpose of Scorpio is to grow and evolve through the pain into something more evolved. But there's definitely a lot of pain in Scorpio. So this Chiron also shows a lot of issues and pain when he's young, especially. So this whole stellium, and then also let's look here degree-wise. All these planets in Sagittarius are disposited by Jupiter in Scorpio. Jupiter and all these planets are disposited by Mars. So Mars and Jupiter are in mutual reception, semi-sextile mutual reception by 30 degrees apart exactly. So Mars, aggression, Jupiter, the sort of belief, very immature belief in the immature side of Scorpio, which is very sexual, right? Very sexual and very dark, like horror. Like an immature Scorpio is like sex and darkness and horror and killing and evil and all the awful, disgusting, horrible things, right? I mean, just being on, let's just be real, that belongs to Scorpio. Horror belongs to Scorpio. And that's just, I mean, I have to be objective about it. I have Scorpio on my chart, but Scorpio has many dimensions. I hate horror films. I hate horror. Because I'm too sensitive for that. I don't want to lower my vibrations because the horror is a lower vibration. And if you watch horror films, if you read horror books, you're lowering your horror, your vibrations. So I don't read Stephen King. I don't think he's some great novelist or any horror, horror movies, or that's lowering your, for the same reason I don't drink alcohol. I don't do things that are going to really lower my vibration, as much as I can help it. I'm not perfect, I'm not a saint, but I try to have a higher vibration. But the very deep low vibrations are found in Scorpio. Not that they're not found in other signs, but Scorpio really lends itself to that because it's that war over the lower desires to try and elevate them into something more evolved and deeply transformative. But based on the synodic cycles of the sun, this is a very immature Scorpio, especially with the Jupiter here. And so Mars and Jupiter are trading places. They have a mutual reception, right? So romancing women, bringing them home, being dark and sexual and evil, all the horrible stuff. We know what he did. I don't need to keep repeating it, This is not an easy subject, believe me. And if we look here, this is also very, very telling. Ascendant in Leo, so already egotism, charm, confidence, pride. Leo ascendant is quite a powerful ascendant because of that ability to have that Leo shine and confidence and charm. Like, people like Leo, despite they can be egotistical, they can be full of pride, but people like Leo because they light up the room, right? A healthy Leo, whether it's sun or ascendant or any combination of planets, is going to have this sunshine. We love this. We get depressed in the winter, but we get happy in the sun. We go to the beach and we bathe in the sun. We love being outside in the sun. The sun is healthy for us. And when we're around strong Leo presence, we feel good because they're going to have the similar effect that the sun has. They're going to make us feel better. They're going to elevate us, lift us up, and make us, chase away the cold, dark, depressive feelings. That's what a good, healthy Leo can do. And an unhealthy Leo, well, they're still going to have some of those qualities. They're still going to have that brightness, that charm that makes people feel good. But along with it comes a lot of pride and a lot of ego. And he has this very intense, serious combination of Pluto and Saturn. And whenever Pluto and Saturn come together, watch out. That's so deadly serious. It's a deadly serious combination because, Saturn is cold and hard and authoritarian, and it's also in detriment in Leo. Saturn in Leo, just by itself, is an aspect of somebody who, if they don't know how to control their Saturn, it can be tyrannical. Because the ego and the pride, and then the Saturn, what both Leo and Saturn have in common is this leadership quality. Leo wants to rule like a king. Saturn wants to rule by authority, by decree, by law, by mandate, by, follow, this is the law. You better fucking follow it. And then Leo bring in the pride, that ego, that kingly quality. It's tyrannical. And I'm not, I have Saturn in Leo, so I'm like describing myself, but I my Saturn is much older than his, so maybe that's why. I don't know. But I can be tyrannical, but I'm also self-aware. So I'm like, okay, check yourself, you know what I mean? Like, don't let your ego get in the way of things. And then bring in Pluto, so deep, so intense. And then Leo, just like this very powerful egotism. Like Pluto and Leo is really all about developing that individuality, that ego, the pride. You know, the boomer. This is the boomer generation have, you know, Pluto and Leo, and boomers are a force to be reckoned with. You know, they have just a very well developed sense of ego. They know who they are. They know what they stand for, and that's not necessarily a negative thing. It can be negative or positive, right? There's some very powerful boomers who do great things in the world because, and they're not, you know, this is helping them do that because that sense of that well developed individuality and pride, you know. But in this combination, it's first whole sign house, but 12th quadrant. So this is already flowing into the back of his mind. It's not in the forefront. It's already partly in his subconscious. And what is in our subconscious is a very powerful force for what we do in life. For instance, I have Pluto in the 12th, but it's fully in the 12th. It's in a different sign. It's in Libra, and I have my Scorpio ascendant. His is in the same sign. So it's gray. It's a little 12th house, a little first house, not fully in the 12th, not fully in the first. But regardless, whether it's in the 12th or first, Pluto in that area, close enough to the ascendant between the 12th, first, or second, is very powerful for the self. It gives a lot of manipulative ability. And if he has any sort of destructive tendencies, it's really going to drive it home. It's really going to drive it deep into his whole being. You know, Pluto in the first can be very manipulative, but it's obvious. It's very obvious when it's in the first house. It's like it's like they become like psychoanalysts. They're very therapeutic or psychological. You know, they're trying to understand you. They're trying to mastermind you, control you, figure you out. When it's in the 12th house, they're doing it. It's a similar quality, but it's much more subtle, much more even beyond their own consciousness. They're doing it without even realizing it, right? So don't count out Pluto in the 12th house. You might not even know how plutonic they are. They could be manipulating you in ways that you will never even understand. But Pluto in the 12th house are very manipulative in ways that even they don't understand. But this is somewhere in between. So he has this very controlling quality and this very deadly, serious, authoritarian, egotistical ability to manipulate and control people. This is a very, very serious, intense combination here with tons of ego and pride and, you know, that glib, superficial charm that they always talk about with psychopaths. This is a very, you know, this is a very telling part, very big part of his psychopathy. And now look at the relationship here between Pluto and Jupiter. Square. So Jupiter is really taking a big hit. This is not a wise Jupiter. It's a very deep, dark, because Pluto rules Scorpio. So it is getting reception from Pluto, because Pluto rules Scorpio, but not in a good way. Because Saturn, Pluto, this is a new Scorpio, and then it's conjunct Venus. So it's just too heavy. It makes him, you know, he's got to have some dignity to his planets. Otherwise, he would just be like a petty criminal, like rob a liquor store and go to prison, and then like get in a fight and probably die young. He's got to have some ability to be able to pull off his heinous crimes. Otherwise, he's just gonna, he's not gonna go anywhere. Like, so he was successful in a way because he was able to do these things and elude people for years and fool people. So there's going to be some ability there to achieve his evil deeds and masterminds. So yeah, that square so intense and serious and heavy. Square to Jupiter. It's not a healthy Jupiter at all. It's not friendly. It's deeply disturbed, and it's in the fourth house cusp, which is the heart. This is such a fourth house is where we have our hearts. It's where where we grow up. It's what makes us happy. It is our deepest feeling place. So in his heart, he described himself as like the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you ever meet. I think that's something like, it's a paraphrase of what he said. Scorpio, and then this detriment Venus. Venus gains directional strength in the fourth house, but it's in such poor quality. In Scorpio, and then Jupiter, and it's so heavy, so dark. This square here. Neptune in the second house. It's approaching the third house, but second, third. I mean, if it's in the second house, and we consider in the second house, then he's wasting resources. He's losing resources, especially in relationships. And he had relationships and he wasted them. So he was also very vengeful. He got back together with one of his ex-girlfriends that she broke up with him, I think. And then he seduced her and was gonna marry her. Then he just left her. He ghosted her. And she called him up, and like after a while of not being able to get in touch with him, she's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then later he said he planned the whole thing out of revenge. That's psychopathy. That's calculating, cold-hearted, SOB. Like really, really deranged person. Let's look at the draconic chart to get a look at his inner being. So right away, Chiron in Leo on the ascendant. So he really identifies with Chiron, this wounded reject who his pride is deeply wounded with Chiron here on the ascendant. Is deeply wounded. Now that's not to say if you have Chiron on the ascendant that you're going to be anything like Ted Bundy. You could be a healer and a teacher, because each planet and asteroid and body has multiple dimensions, so the high and the low. And for here, it's obviously on the very low dimension because of how young his planets are, and how twisted and just the whole combination. We're seeing that he's just a very dark soul who's very immature. And here, so we're not looking at the high evolution of Chiron. We're looking at the low one, which is wounded reject and pride. So he identifies as that. Now we're getting a lot of Virgo right in the first house. And what did I just say? Calculating. Virgo is calculating. His strongest planet is Mercury, which is exalted and in domicile in Virgo. So he's smart. The guy is smart and calculating. Venus is in Virgo, so it's debilitated. And this is again women. So Venus in Scorpio, Venus in Virgo, in detriment and debilitation. Now Jupiter here is also in detriment. It gains directional strength from the first house, but again, detriment. So we're seeing he's very calculating, very intelligent. He's got the sun here. It's pretty much close to the second house, but that's adding to the charm. But very, he's very analytical, very sharp-minded, very calculating, but no wisdom, no good relationship with women. Very unhealthy in that regard. Um, and then we get the moon and Mars here again. Mars is in detriment in Libra, and it's also there's a wide conjunction to Neptune, so probably we can say as well delusional. The moon is closest. Well, I guess Lilith is, but we'll take the moon because it's the main factor here. More like a delusional moon that in a very weak Mars in the second, moving into the third house. And Libra represents relationships. So second house would deal with the ability to speak. So he was very charming and could, talk to women, seduce them, bring them home, and then, the rest. So I think that touches on that ability, especially the Neptune in the second and third, showing ability to be delusional in speech and expression. Neptune can also indicate lying as well, acting, the overly creative imagination, not overly, but just very creative imagination. So alter ego, things like that. North Node and Uranus in the 8th house. So again, reinforcing the dark sexual scorpionic qualities. Uranus can be shocking events, sudden events. Ascendant conjunct North Node in Gemini. North Node is where we become really obsessive and materialistic and just like want to take and gain and in a worldly way. So he really identifies with this North Node in Gemini. Very communicative, very he can just switch characters and talk his way through anything. And also the 10th house. I mean, he's, he gained notoriety for all his evil deeds and all. So he made that his career, I guess you could say, his public image, not necessarily career, public image. So it's all very telling. We're getting all this 5th and 4th house, so romance and then evil deeds at home, overly sexual stuff, poor relationships with women, feeling like a wounded reject, very hurt pride, overly, serious, manipulative, just heavy controlling, egotistical, tyrannical, subconscious, and then very extremely calculating. And, poor relationship quality. So yeah, I mean, this really details a lot about what an extremely immature psychopath, not an immature psychopath, an immature soul who is a psychopath looks like, and how cold and heartless and geared towards women, violence, over sexualization, very dark stuff, but it needs to be known. I'm not going to shy away from the hard stuff. It's interesting, and it's important to understand what makes somebody do these kind of things. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com, or email me at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And I will see you soon. If you have any recommendations for me, put them in the comments. Or any comments at all. All right, thanks. Bye.